Moms. If I could sit down with my younger homeschool mom self, there are a few things that I would gently tell her. I would tell her to stop worrying so much, to breathe more, to slow down. And honestly, I would tell her that homeschooling does not have to feel quite so heavy. I remember when we first began homeschooling, and when you first begin, it's so easy to just carry a lot of pressure. We want to do it right. We want our kids to succeed. We want to make sure that we're not messing them up. And sometimes all that pressure and all of our desires lead us to make decisions based more on fear than on peace. So after homeschooling for many years, I homeschooled for 31 years, and looking back, I can say there are definitely a few things I would do differently. I could go back and start again. And if you're a homeschool mom right now who's feeling overwhelmed, discouraged, or wondering if you're doing enough, I think this will encourage you. But you need to know you probably don't need to do more. Maybe you just need permission to homeschool with a little more grace. So today I want to share with you three things that I would definitely, absolutely do differently if I homeschooled again. I think the third one matters most, by the way. So, number one, the first thing that I would do differently is this: I would take better care of myself. As a young mom, I could get away with very little sleep. I stayed up late, got up with babies during the night, started early mornings with toddlers, and I just pushed through. I assumed that exhaustion was normal, and yes, being tired comes with motherhood, right? But what I didn't realize was that my energy wasn't unlimited. And eventually, the constant fatigue started catching up with me. It showed up in the form of burnout, mental exhaustion, feeling emotionally drained, and honestly, sometimes I even had depression. I stopped exercising because I felt like there wasn't enough time. I neglected rest because there was always something more important I could be doing. And then I hate to admit this one, but there were seasons when I would fall into bed at night and realize I had not even spent time with God that day. So, can I ask you something? When was the last time that you felt truly rested? Not just surviving, but renewed? Because homeschool moms, most often, we're pouring out constantly. We're giving and giving and giving without refilling. And eventually that catches up with us. So, one of the best things that I learned was that self care isn't selfish. Taking care of your body, your mind, and your spiritual life helps you keep doing what God has called you to do. Sometimes that might look like having to say no to extra activities. Sometimes it means slowing your schedule down. Sometimes it means taking a break and just going and laughing with a friend and sharing a good time of relaxing. You got to remember that you matter too, and take care of yourself so you don't burn out. The second thing I would definitely do is this: I would stress far, far less about when a child got it academically, especially with reading and math. As homeschool moms, we tend to just panic if a child isn't grasping something quickly. We compare, we worry, we wonder if we're behind. But every child develops differently. Each child has their own readiness and their own learning style. They also have their own pace. I wish I had understood that sooner. It would have saved me so much stress. There were times I pushed too hard because I thought they needed to master a skill right away. But often they really just needed more time. They weren't quite ready, or they weren't quite getting it. They needed a little maturity, or sometimes a different approach. Other times they just needed a break. They had reached their limit on that and they needed a break. If a curriculum wasn't working, I wish I would have changed it sooner instead of forcing it, because curriculum is a tool. It's not your master. But sometimes we get into that mode where we think, I bought this, I have to use it. Costs a lot of money, and I get that because I that's how I was. But then I realized if it's not working for us, it's not worth that stress. And can I gently remind you of something, moms? Just because something worked for one child, that doesn't mean it will work for your next child. That's kind of unfortunate, actually, because I would buy something and I wouldn't mind if the curriculum was expensive because I think, oh, I still have 4 or 6 kids left to use this with, only to find that it did not work for the next one. Just because a curriculum or a method worked for one child doesn't mean that it will work for that next one or all the others. So you are allowed to pivot. You're allowed to adjust. You're allowed to make learning fun again. And if the curriculum isn't fun for you or the child, maybe it's time to adjust and make learning fun. Sometimes even just stepping away from phonics for a few weeks or playing learning games instead is what a child needs. A fun way to learn that doesn't have that pressure. When you lift that pressure, learning often begins more naturally, it just comes more naturally. So let me ask you this. Are you teaching right now from a place of peace, or is there a lot of pressure? Answering that question changed a lot for me. It just opened my eyes to the changes that I needed to make. And I wish I had known a lot of these way back when I was homeschooling or in my early years. The third thing that I would do differently, and this one matters deeply, I would focus so much less on enforcing rules and much more on building relationships. Now, don't take this wrong. We have to have rules. Rules matter, boundaries matter. Our kids need guidance, and we have to lead them and give them boundaries. But what I learned over time is that rules alone do not create connection. And rules without that relationship often lead to frustration and then to rebellion. And there were seasons when I was so focused on obedience that I missed opportunities to strengthen the relationship. And I think this happens sometimes in our desire to be firm and to guide our children to make them, learn and want to do what's right. We can become too harsh, and harshness damages connection. What really worked better was appealing to their hearts, building trust, listening, being available, showing interest in what mattered to them. Because when children feel connected to us, then they become more open to our guidance and our correction and our boundaries. Relationship opens the door for influence. And isn't that one of the reasons we want to homeschool? We want to have that place of influence with our children. So remember that keeping your child's heart matters much more than perfect behavior. And one of the greatest gifts that we can give our children is for them to know that they're safe with us, that they're loved, they're heard, and that relationship will change everything. So let's review. If I could homeschool again, I would take better care of myself. I would stress less about academic timelines, and I would focus more on relationships than rules. So remember, homeschooling teaches our children, but guess what? It's also teaching us. It teaches us patience, humility, grace, and dependence on God. So if you're in a hard season right now, I want to encourage you. You're not failing, you're learning, you're growing, and God is growing you right alongside your children. So keep that in mind. And I want you to tell me in the comments which of these three things resonated most with you. And then, of course, if you enjoy Christian parenting encouragement and want more, make sure you subscribe so you get the updates. And remember, you're doing important work. So keep going.